Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys have been doing well. I have been a bit more regular on here, so I'm really happy about that. If you like our videos, please subscribe to the channel. We have been growing quite well. We have been doing a lot of videos every week, so we want you to be part of the subscriber list as well. So please join us. Like this video, help us get our videos out there as well. Share them with anyone you think might find them helpful if you find them helpful, and leave us a comment, leave us a question. Let us know what you think about this, whether you agree, disagree, anything at all. We like interacting with like people in the comments. So what I wanted to talk about today was, and it's something that I think is an important thing to consider while working on recovery. And again, the hair situation is just like off the charts. I'm going to leave it as it is. So when sometimes when you are working on recovery, when you are trying all these different things, whether it's you think that, oh, I've read the books, I am doing exposures, I have done disputing, I have done all of this, but I'm not making progress right now. I don't feel like I am going along the way, and you kind of feel like you are stagnating a little bit. Despite putting in the effort, you are not feeling any further relief in symptoms, or like with your anxiety or with your fear, and things are just still latching on, things are just still quite there in that sense. So I just want to like give some tips with that of what you can do when you feel like you have stopped making progress, and when you feel like you are kind of stagnating on the journey, because this is the kind of like approach that I also use with myself. So I'm hoping that this also somewhat gives you some kind of direction with like where to go with this. And when I was thinking of how to like formulate this video, how to of what things I can say in this video, there were two parts of it that were coming to mind. One was a more like methodological one of what you can do to get better, and the other one was a bit more philosophical in a sense of how you can like try to approach recovery or think about it, or how you can start to like slowly chip away at whatever is still persisting for you. So I'll start with the methodological part. So I mean, some of the obvious questions at times to ask are like, am I still doing compulsions? Am I still avoiding things out of fear? Am I coasting, which is an important part as well? Am I disputing my irrational beliefs enough? Am I working on exposures? Am I building life structure? So am I trying to work on acceptance? So like a lot of people in the WhatsApp group sometimes say, "Oh, but I've been suffering for so long, and this is still there. Why is it still there?" But many times, in many cases, I would say, in fact, if you ask these like pertinent questions to yourself, you'll start to realize that the answer that you might find for these questions is in many cases might be that, okay, you are probably not doing like some of these things. In many instances you might find that answer, that okay, there, because there might be, for example, some subtle compulsions that are still there, that you are still latching onto, and you think that, oh, it's a small compulsion and it's not giving me anxiety, it's not giving me any fear, I can easily do it, so it's fine. I mean, I'm okay in that department. So you continue doing that subtle compulsion. Or there might be still things that, because you've been avoiding things for so long, just out of habit, you are still kind of avoiding some of those things. So avoidance can also be very like subtle in that sense. Or if you haven't worked on your irrational beliefs, which is a huge part of the recovery process. So which by irrational beliefs I mean, if you have not been disputing them, if you have not been breaking down your irrational beliefs in a more rational manner, that's something that goes ignored quite a bit. So taking time out for that is really important. And disputing, we always recommend to do it through writing and not in your head, because in your head can also just seem directionless at sometimes, and also it doesn't give you that kind of clarity at times, and it can get compulsive because you think, oh, I'm feeling discomfort, let me just quickly dispute it in my head right now. So that's something we do not recommend. Do it when you're not in a triggered state, do it when you're not in a highly anxious state, do it when um you are able to just take time out for like 15 minutes every day, every alternate day, something like that. There are more videos on disputing and how to go about it on this channel, so definitely do give those a watch. So yeah, so I mean, there will be like things in these questions that you will be able to identify. In many cases, like that is the answer. You will find an answer over there. Okay, this is an area that is like underworked. This is an area which I actually have not been like actively doing work on. So okay, let me try that. So you can start from there. Then the other thing is also that maybe what might work for you is also just taking a step back, because a lot of times what is kind of happening as well is we are doing all of these things and we are in some ways trying to rush the recovery process or force the recovery process or force acceptance, for example. So taking a step back, taking your, as we say, foot off the pedal for some time, and just like living life. In any case, I mean, with recovery, it's not that, oh, your 100% day should be just on recovery. It needs to be done. I mean, recovery needs to be worked on in a balance, like live your life as well, but also take time out for recovery. So kind of do both at the same time. Um, but like over here, you might need to like take a little break and take a little step back, because sometimes what happens is with, because when we take a more just very methodological approach, like I said, to recovery, what we might end up doing is it's a very subtle like nuance to the way you think and approach recovery, but it's like you are doing all these things, all these like methods and all these like what do you call it, or you're taking all the guided formal steps of working on recovery, and then okay, you just sit and you wonder, okay, I've done disputing for a week. Do I feel relief? Is relief coming? I wonder where it is. I've done this big exposure. Okay, where's it? Where's relief? I think I feel relief. Is it there? I hear someone knocking on the door. Oh, it might be relief. Or I mean, like sometimes in cartoons where it's like you very sneakily like push like a glass piece to the floor, and the glass breaks and it makes a noise, and then you're waiting like, okay, now there's the reaction about to come. So that's kind of how we do that. And with working on recovery, I mean, I don't know how that looked on screen, honestly, like, but that's the example that came to mind, so I just used it. But and my eyes, I think, looked very animated. But um, with working on recovery, what happens is that I think we then start to expect those feelings. I'm not saying that don't have hope or don't like keep hope that, oh, that are getting better or will be getting better. What I'm saying is that we are then trying to almost in a very subtle way induce those feelings of recovery and induce those feelings of relief and acceptance and lowered fear and stuff like that. And when we're expecting that, when we're waiting for it just around the corner, that's when it's almost similar to when we're trying to force a certain feeling, or when we're trying to manufacture or curate a certain feeling. And that's when you have to take a step back, because what you're also then might be trying to do is also trying to force acceptance. And I know how meta this sounds, but there's also one part of recovery at times is also accepting that you cannot accept, because when we're trying to just really, when you're like, but I need to accept this, I want to accept this, I'm doing disputing, I'm breaking down my rights and beliefs, I've done exposures, I have tried to like watch that documentary or read that book, I've done that, but my perspective is not changing, I still feel the same way. So it's almost like you are trying to force, not almost, I mean, you are trying to force acceptance. So acceptance doesn't work that way. You cannot force it to happen. That's why it's important to just sometimes take a step back and go with that uncertainty and embrace that uncertainty that, okay, may or may not be able to accept this, or I may or may not accept this right now, but I don't know if I will be able to, but I'm just going to get on right now. So these are some of like the very subtle nuances that you have to kind of look at, because they might be at play and you may not realize it. Sometimes it takes like just again like a step back, or just some um, assessment in that sense of the situation, to really like see, okay, where you might need more work, or in fact like where you might not need work at all, and just like take a slight break from things. um and then the other part that I was saying, which I feel like is a bit more philosophical, is also like for me, this is. I'm not saying that I sat down and I thought, okay, now I will be more philosophical and now I will think like this so that I can get better. No, I mean, that's not how it was. I mean, that's just how I naturally like thought about this and formulated this in my head in a way. Is that I just started to look at things from just a non OCD perspective as well, because I think when we get caught up in all those, in too much categorization and too many labels of, okay, this is OCD, this is the treatment, this is what I need to do with this. I mean, it just kind of, at times it can put you in this very like robotic way of like functioning in recovery. And like recovery is not like taking a machine apart, because even if you watch, and this is, I mean, I'm just going to get a little geeky right now, but if you watch like videos of restoring old objects that have a lot of rust on them, there's a certain amount of rust that you can just take off by scraping it off. But then there's a certain amount of rust that no matter how much you try to like force the rust off, or like use a screwdriver or something to take it off, it just does not work. It just does not go away. So what you have to then do is um, you put like some important liquids in water, and you put those metal pieces, you dip them in the water, and then you let it simmer for like many hours, and then the rust comes off. So what I'm trying to say is like, please don't lose track of this video, but the point that I'm trying to make is that that's the kind of approach that we have to take for recovery at times, where you have to let things also just simmer for a bit. So it's not a mechanical fix in that way. So when we're just trying to, back to what I was saying on the more philosophical note, is that I started to like look at things from just a non OCD perspective as well. So like, for example, one of my biggest compulsions was I would constantly analyze my feelings a lot. I would psychoanalyze my feelings all the time. If I'm feeling happy, oh, what is this happiness attributed to? Is this coming from this? Oh, or is that thing making me happy? If I'm feeling sad, that's where like the compulsion really kicked in, where I was like, okay, where is this sadness or anger or frustration, or where are these negative emotions coming from? Is it from something from like years ago in the past that is somewhere in my subconscious, or is it something someone said like 2 days ago? Is something stressing me out? Is it school? Is it this? Like, it's, I mean, I would really get into that analysis. So either I would do that, or I thought because psychoanalyzing it would be the best way to go about it, or and try to figure out, okay, what's happening, and try to find relief. Or I mean, again, I would just get into these like very fixed ways of thinking and doing certain things. But then I also thought, okay, I mean, I need to also start considering myself as someone, okay, maybe if I, let's say I did not have OCD, right? Or whether I do or not is irrelevant. If I just look at myself, if I just take a step back and just look at myself as a person, the way I think, the way I behave, the way I conduct my everyday routine, the way I conduct my everyday dynamics with people around me, with friends, with family, all of these things. Um, you sometimes just have to really ask yourself, is this the kind of life that you want for yourself? Is this the kind of life that you envision for yourself? Are you living the life that you envision for yourself? Are you the person, I mean, do you really like the person that you are? Or do you, I mean, do you like, I mean, is this what you want for your life? Is this what you planned for your life? You kind of have to just, this is where I say like the second part of it is kind of also just going in reflection mode a little bit as well, just reflecting on just you as a person and just your life. Like imagine your life trajectory from like the time that you were born, let's say, just thinking of life that way, and just seeing where what your progress was like, what your life path was like, the things that happened and the things that eventually led to you, your transformation as a person or your growth and evolution as a person. And now where you are right now, is that what you really thought for yourself? Is that what you envisioned for yourself? And I think like for me when I was doing that, and again obviously I'm not saying that oh go into a deep dive into the encyclopedia of your life. I mean obviously that might be a compulsion for many, analyzing whether they're good or bad people and all of those things. I mean I'm not, obviously that's a separate topic. I'm just saying that I mean obviously if it's not a compulsive thing for you, just like I think when I started to also just look at myself from that lens as well, just from a non OCD lens, just not trying to figure out like, oh, what method do I employ today to get rid of this? Um, I just started to realize there were so many things about myself that I just did not really enjoy or I did not like, and that's not the person that I wanted to be. That's not the kind of behavior or the way of thinking that I really wanted to have for the rest of my life. And I mean, there were so many of those things that I did not even realize I was or wasn't doing because for so many years, like since mainly since even before you are a teenager for that matter, I think even from the age of like 8 or 9, there's certain set patterns of thinking and behaving that we are so conditioned into, whether it's from society, family, or just ideas that we have adopted and borrowed for ourselves. That and we are so like in the thick of it that at times we really do not reflect. I mean, we think that oh, reflection is something that should come to everyone so easily, but we really don't take a second look at things, and we are so used to and we habituate in such a specific way of living our lives that we don't see, that we become blind to like certain like areas that need work on, that somewhere we are lacking or shortcomings or flaws or any of those things. um so really like all just having a look at, are those things that you need for your life or you want for yourself for life. And when I started to do that, I honestly began to really see a lot of things that I was doing, a lot of unhealthy physical, mental, and emotional habits that I was doing that really weren't serving me at all. I was constantly blaming other people for my suffering. I was not really pushing myself enough for, let's say, recovery itself or doing exposures. And still, I was complaining that, oh, why is life so miserable? I mean, I just wasn't helping myself. And other people can't help you if you don't want to help yourself. So you can't rely on other people. So I was just like in this constant cycle of external blame. Then I used to like hold these really extremely high standards for myself, which sometimes do creep in still, but these high standards for myself of like productivity and improvement and being the best self and whatnot. And I was like, why am I doing this to myself? Like literally why am I doing this to myself? I mean, why am I making myself so like just ridiculously miserable about living every day? um and I'm not saying these questions or these approaches will give you like an immediate like snap answer and will give you this immediate clarity and uh just this god sent wisdom that oh my god, yes, now I know. It's again, just a very subtle, calm, gentle way of just reflecting over like just over a period of time and just being able to slowly change and evolve and transform the person you are into the person that you want to be. And that's what we also like talk a lot about on this channel as well. Like rational thinking is not giving up your values. In fact, working on recovery and work thinking more rationally and living more rationally is you being able to live by your values and live by your preferences and the things that you want to be able to do. That's where you eventually come to. But it's not done in a like rigid demand, frustrating like that way. You're able to exercise your values, your preferences, the things that you want to do. You're able to exercise them and embody them um, without those without that chronic fear, without that chronic anxiety, or those heightened emotions that just completely cloud your judgment all the time and give you brain fog. Like right now, the life that I'm living is a life that I feel like, I mean, is way closer to, I mean, obviously there's still things that I want to do and like want to change, but I mean, it's way closer to the kind of life I wanted to live for myself, compared to before recovery, because I wasn't doing that at all. Um, I also realized that even with my relationships with people, I was just like holding them to a much higher standard as well. There was like less acceptance of other people, just wanting them to be a very specific way. Um, and not accepting life as well. I mean, I was just like complaining about the same things over and over and over again since many years. There was no change in that. And I really, when I saw that, okay, what am I doing to myself, really, is when I started to, I mean, that's when automatically I think, I mean, I wasn't even like, oh, I'm going to let go of these things to accept. But when I started to really just have this distaste of what I was doing to myself, was also when I started to really then be like, okay, I'm just trying to exert control and emotions, and just exert a very specific kind of way of thinking to life, other people, and myself. So I'm not going to do that anymore. And that's when slowly I started to make space for acceptance. Acceptance didn't come immediately. I think, in fact, I think I really want to highlight this, that sometimes it's not that acceptance will just come as soon as you are able to like see things. You kind of have to make space for acceptance first, and then it comes in. Kind of like in your house as well. If your room is crammed, or like, I don't know, something like that, you have to make space first, and then slowly your house will get populated, and slowly like things will not populated in the sense of like reproduction and making people, but I mean, like, even if it's like furniture that you want to change, you have to like make space for new furniture to come in. That's what I meant. Like, by populate, I mean just, you know what I mean. I'm not, I mean, I'm just like not on a great note right now. Yeah, so I just think like, just when you feel like you're stagnating, when you feel like you are just like, okay, you're here, but now you aren't going anywhere. um Give yourself the time, give yourself the patience. Just ask yourself some of these questions. Try to adopt these different kinds of approaches. You might be in those very subtle compulsive habits still, or something like that, and that's why you might not be making more progress. And again, like I said, sometimes there's no like reason of, okay, this is why you're not making progress. Sometimes it's just like, sometimes there's no like obvious reason to it. You just you're just not able to see that, and you've reached a plateau for a while. You also like, you have to wait for your body to also catch up in that sense as well, because if you have been working on recovery, or if you have been trying to do things a certain way or a different way, or trying to get better, I mean, sure, I mean, there are many things that you will have those breakthroughs, but sometimes your body is not a machine that you'll just add oil to it and it'll start working well. You have to kind of just wait for your body to catch up as well. I mean, your body is like an entity in itself. It has to, if you're changing habits, for example, it has to get used to those habits as well. If your brain hasn't functioning a certain way, and you have tried to change the way that your brain thinks and functions, then I mean, sure, that will happen. You'll feel that shift as well, but it needs time to become like a well-oiled machine. It needs time to catch up. It needs time to, I think the scientific term is also like, make those new neural pathways and get used to them. Um, so yeah, just wait for your body and your brain to catch up as well sometimes, and just be patient, and give yourself time. Reflect a little bit on life, just on yourself as a person, and are these things that you want for yourself. um and yeah, take things from there. So yeah, I just thought this I really wanted to do this video for like a few days, and it was just kind of there in my head, and the clockwork was there, but I wasn't able to really put it into words properly. So I think today it just felt like, okay, now I can do it, so I just did it. Anyway, I hope you found this helpful. I hope you found some like helpful tips and reminders in this video. And I am going to go now. Bye. Take care of yourself.